And I'm talking about Chicago Bears wide receiver Rome Odunze. This is a player, Matt, I don't know what else we could have asked for, right? He has the number 1 overall pick in Caleb Williams at quarterback. He's got the draft capital. You got a great offensive mind in Ben Johnson from Detroit. And when you just look at Rome Odunze's skill set and what he brings to the table, his ability to play inside, outside, and in my opinion, run the most robust and diverse route tree on that roster.
The Chicago Bears are about to do something big, and fantasy football players who aren't watching are going to miss out. Rome Odunze, the 9th pick from last year's draft, is getting ready to become the biggest fantasy surprise of 2025. While everyone is looking at the big-name players, Odunze is sitting there in the 6th round of fantasy drafts, ready to blow up and give you championship points. With Ben Johnson as the new head coach and a totally new offense, everything is lining up for Odunze to go from disappointing rookie to a top receiver who could win your fantasy league. Rome Odunze's 2024 rookie year wasn't what anyone wanted from a top 10 pick. 734 yards, 54 catches, and only 3 touchdowns on 101 targets. Those numbers made fantasy players give up on him and look for someone else. But here's what those stats don't show. Odunze was set up to fail from the start. The Bears' offense was terrible last season. They were 4th worst in the NFL with only 18.2 points per game. Caleb Williams was getting hit all the time behind a bad offensive line, and when he needed to throw the ball fast, he went to veteran Keenan Allen instead of the rookie. But here's the crazy part. ESPN's Mike Clay, one of the best fantasy experts out there, says Odunze was actually unlucky as a rookie. Clay found out that of 11 players who got 13 or more throws in the end zone last season, Odunze was the only one with less than 5 touchdowns. 9 of the 13 end zone targets weren't catchable, and his 37% overall off-target rate was second highest among wide receivers, Clay said. A second-year improvement from Caleb Williams would go a long way for Odunze. Think about that. Odunze was getting chances near the goal line. He was running lots of routes. He was 8th among all receivers in routes run. But the quarterback play was so bad that he couldn't score. That's not Odunze's problem. That's the team's problem. The team just got completely fixed. Everything is different now that Ben Johnson is here. The former Detroit Lions coach just spent years building one of the best offenses in football around Jared Goff, and now he's bringing that same magic to Chicago. Johnson isn't just any coach. He's really good at making players better and creating chances for them to score. Rome Odunze talked about Johnson's impact on the Yahoo Fantasy Football podcast and what he said should make fantasy players excited. He's been hard on us, man. He's been hard on us, holding everybody accountable. He's strict and he's detailed, and I love it. I think the team loves it, because that's the sort of standard and accountability that we need to go far. He knows a lot about offense, defense, and football as a whole.
He's been hard on us, man. He's been hard on us, holding everybody accountable. I don't know if you heard any of the stories about him at practice, but, he's strict and he's detailed. And I love it. I think the team loves it because, that's the sort of standard and accountability that we need to go far. So, he's very dialed in with his offense, and he's very, detail orientated, and he's very knowledgeable about, offenses, defenses, and the game of football as a whole. So
this isn't just nice words. This is a second-year player who knows he's finally in a system that can help him succeed. Johnson has already been amazed by what he's seen from Odunze during practice. "I'm extremely impressed," Johnson said during spring practice. "To be a second-year guy, you would expect a little bit more inconsistency. And yet the way he approaches the meeting room, the walkthroughs, the on-field, the drill work, it's very much like a seasoned pro, some of the best that I've been around." When a coach who just helped make the Lions offense amazing says you work like some of the best that I've been around, that's huge. Here's where it gets really good for fantasy players. Keenan Allen left this offseason, which means 121 targets are now available in the Chicago offense. That's not a small number. That's a ton of chances to catch passes that have to go to someone. DJ Moore is the main receiver and already got 140 targets last season, so he won't get much more. The Bears picked Luther Burden III in the second round and Colston Loveland at tight end, but as a second-year player who already knows Williams, Odunze should get the most benefit from Allen leaving. Odunze got 101 targets as a rookie while fighting with Allen for catches. Now Allen's gone, Johnson is putting in an offense that throws more, and Williams should have more time to throw behind a better offensive line. It makes sense that Odunze could jump from 101 targets to 130 to 140 targets in 2025. This is where smart fantasy players win championships. Odunze is being picked as the 37th receiver in fantasy drafts. That's 6th-round territory for a former top 10 pick in his second year with a new offense built for him and with 121 extra targets available. That's crazy cheap. Fantasy championships are won by finding good players late in drafts while avoiding busts early. Odunze is exactly that kind of chance. He has the talent. You don't get picked 9th overall without being really good. He has the opportunity. Allen leaving and Johnson's system create perfect conditions. And he has the quarterback. Williams should be much better in his second year with better protection and coaching. Some fantasy experts still don't trust Odunze because they're worried about the Bears' offense. That's fair. They were awful last season. But that's exactly why he's such great value. People are thinking about last year's failures while ignoring all the changes that make 2025 totally different. Johnson's track record speaks for itself. In Detroit, he helped Amon-Ra St. Brown become a fantasy star and made every skill player better. Now he has even more talented receivers to work with in Chicago, including a former top 10 pick who wants to prove himself. Just the touchdown improvement alone should get fantasy players excited. 3 touchdowns on 13 red zone targets is way too low, especially for a player of Odunze's size and ability. Even a small improvement in scoring could double his touchdowns, and that's without counting the extra targets he's likely to get. Rome Odunze is being given to fantasy players for free in the 6th round of drafts, and most people are walking right past him. This is a former top 10 pick entering his second year with a new offense built to help him succeed, a quarterback ready to break out, and 121 extra targets from Keenan Allen leaving. The Bears aren't just hoping to get better, they expect it. General Manager Ryan Poles just got a new contract, and there's pressure to show that all these offensive changes can finally work. That makes Odunze not just a sleeper pick, but possibly the league winner that championship teams need. When you're in your fantasy draft and Odunze is still there in the 6th round, don't think too hard about it. Pick him, start him, and get ready to watch him become the breakout star that wins you a championship in 2025.
Four-man rush. Daniels, far side, is caught by Ertz.
ESPN's Seth Walder just put out an article grading every single NFL team's offseason for the 2025 offseason, and he gave the Commanders and GM Adam Peters a grade of a...
The Commanders were ranked 13th on ESPN's 2025 offense list. But is that number hiding something big? A young quarterback, new playmakers, and a team full of surprises. Let's see why this ranking might be the start of something special. And the 13th spot, it's more than a number. It's a signal that this team is no longer irrelevant, no longer overlooked. It's the start of a new identity for Washington football, one rooted in potential, grit, and a touch of danger. Right out of the gate, let's answer the obvious question. Why is Washington not in the top 10 or top 5? ESPN's Bill Barnwell evaluated every team's trio of skill positions, wide receivers, tight ends, running backs separately from quarterbacks, offensive lines, and schemes. In his eyes, the Commanders sit squarely in the top half, ranked 13th out of 32. That places them ahead of many, but still a step away from the most explosive groups. They're not weak, but they're not elite either. For perspective, some of the teams below Washington in these rankings still feature superstars. That tells you just how competitive and tight these evaluations are. Being 13th doesn't mean average. It means you're knocking at the door of greatness, and possibly just one breakout season away from climbing several spots. This ranking doesn't include Daniels in the calculation, but everything changes once you factor him in. His rookie season was a revelation. Over 3,500 passing yards, nearly 900 rushing yards, and 31 total touchdowns. He capped it off by sealing a playoff win with a jaw-dropping Hail Mary. He earned Offensive Rookie of the Year and turned Washington into playoff contenders. Daniels wasn't just flashy. His deep ball placement ranked top 5 among all quarterbacks, and his ability to extend plays consistently punished defenses. He made everyone around him better. Suddenly, receivers had more space, running lanes opened wider, and the pressure shifted entirely onto defenses. Daniels is the kind of quarterback who transforms a good offense into something dangerous. For defenses preparing for Washington in 2025, that's the real fear. They're no longer game managing. They're playmaking. If you imagine every team with an average quarterback, then ranked by pure playmakers, WRs, RBs, TEs, the Commanders are 13th. But with Daniels at the helm, that talented group suddenly looks more explosive. Terry McLaurin had a massive rebound. His jump in touchdowns and improved efficiency gave the Commanders a reliable #1 receiver. His chemistry with Daniels was electric, and defenders paid the price. Deebo Samuel brings a different kind of firepower. Known for dynamic yards after catch, he averaged an astounding 8.8 YAC. When healthy and locked in, he's one of the most unpredictable weapons in the league. Lining up everywhere, from slot to backfield, he keeps defenses guessing. The tight ends and running backs are solid. They're capable, but don't yet threaten to dominate. The lack of a clear elite player in those spots held Washington back from climbing higher. Brian Robinson Jr. deserves mention. He's a grinder who keeps defenses honest. His physicality and short yardage consistency are valuable in a group where finesse often overshadows grit. Talent alone kept the group hovering just below the elite. But coaching and scheme are part of the equation. Enter Cliff Kingsbury. His system is known for its creativity in spreading the ball, supporting athletes like Daniels and McLaurin. Analysts call it the perfect pairing. Daniels gaining confidence, Kingsbury calling plays that maximize potential. Barnwell confirmed that this setup boosts Washington's skill group, pushing their ranking up from what it might have been under a different coordinator. Kingsbury's track record with quarterbacks is another major plus. His history with dual threat players and vertical routes all suggest Washington is on the verge of becoming a nightmare matchup. Even with McLaurin and Samuel at the top, Washington's offensive skill chart still lacks one key piece: elite depth. If you list the top 5 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and 1 running back Barnwell's evaluation method, you don't get that extra star in the wings. The Commanders have a reliable starter lineup, but no backup who would make another team's top list. Ben Sinnott or Luke McCaffrey could rise up, but for now, they're projected as depth. Injuries to either of the main receivers would quickly expose this group's limitations. That's the gamble, and that's why this offense, while promising, still makes analysts hesitate before putting them in the top tier. Washington didn't stand still. They made moves to shore up this group. They acquired Deebo Samuel, giving them that deep threat possession play combo. They drafted wide receivers like Jalen Lane, hoping for breakout speed. On the offensive line, they brought in Laramie Tunsil to protect Daniels and drafted Josh Connerly Jr. to future-proof the line. Tunsil's impact is huge. With better protection, Daniels will scan the field longer, allowing plays to develop and receivers to shake loose. It's not just about stars. It's about the infrastructure that lets them shine. Where do the elite squads sit? The Philadelphia Eagles topped ESPN's list thanks to Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, and Devonta Smith. The Detroit Lions ranked second, headlined by Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Sam Laporta. The Dallas Cowboys ranked 11th with a similar mix of top wide receivers, though their backfield is weaker. Washington looks similarly strong at the top, missing that third breakout piece that makes the difference. If you swapped one more elite receiver or tight end into this group, they'd easily break into the top 8. What's the story going forward? 2 burning questions. Will Deebo Samuel stay healthy and explosive? Can Daniels and Kingsbury unlock deeper tier targets to support the top pair? If Samuel delivers and names like Sinnott or McCaffrey emerge, Washington could slide into the top 10. If not, they remain a team with great potential that never fully explodes. This season is a test of growth. Every weapon needs to level up. Depth players must find their moment. This is no longer about a rebuild, it's about evolution. Daniels is carrying the franchise forward. In his rookie season, he turned Washington from cellar dweller to playoff team, leading to a dramatic NFC Championship appearance and rookie milestones.
Daniels fires one, caught. McLaurin in stride, breaks a tackle. Terry McLaurin.
The focus is clear. Support the man behind center. That means depth, health, and scheme mastery. Watch how this team handles early adversity. Watch how quickly young players earn trust. If the answers are positive, that number 13 will feel laughably low by season's end. So when ESPN says number 13, here's what it really means. Washington has solid top-end talent, a quarterback who changes everything, and a system that amplifies their strengths. But they're still missing the third-tier explosion that could make them soar. This roster sits in a sweet spot better than most, but not yet among the best. And with the right development, Samuel's durability, emerging backups, draft hits, they could climb fast. Let me leave you with this. 13th sounds safe, right in the middle. But what if this isn't where they stop? If Daniels continues his rise and new weapons step up, the Commanders could crack the top 10 by mid-season. Then the question becomes, how high can they really go? If you're just as curious about where this team is headed, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more in-depth breakdowns, and drop your predictions in the comments. Your take could be featured in our next episode. Former NFL cornerback Asante Samuel Sr. just went nuclear on the Dolphins organization, and honestly, after listening to what he had to say, I'm not sure I can argue with much of it. Multiple people have been speaking out about this organization lately. We've got Samuel Sr. dropping bombs. We've got comments from departing players like Raheem Mostert and Jonnu Smith. Even the national media is starting to pile on. Today, we're going to break down all of these criticisms and see if they hold water. Let's start with the big one. Asante Samuel Sr. came out yesterday and absolutely destroyed the Dolphins' leadership structure. Here's exactly what he said. The Dolphins had no reason to trade Jalen Ramsey other than they're sensitive. There's no leadership in the Dolphins organization. Mike McDaniel is a pushover. Chris Greer, the general manager, he has no backbone. These guys over here, the Miami Dolphins, they are running this team like a little league team. No one can stand up to the players. They are terrified of their own players. They have no control over their players.
Dolphins had no reason to trade Jalen Ramsey other than they're sensitive. There's no leadership in the Dolphins organization. Mike McDaniels is a pushover. Chris Greer, the general manager, he has no backbone. These guys over here, the Miami Dolphins, they are running this team like a little league team. No one can stand up to the players. They're terrified of their own players, and they have no control over their players.
That's pretty damning stuff, right? Samuel Sr. didn't hold back at all. He basically called out the entire power structure from top to bottom. The head coach is a pushover. The GM has no backbone. The organization runs like a little league team. Now, before we dive into whether he's right or wrong, let's establish some context. Samuel Sr. is the father of Asante Samuel Jr., a cornerback the Dolphins have reportedly been pursuing. Based on these comments, it's safe to say Samuel Jr. won't be signing in Miami anytime soon. Samuel Sr. specifically mentioned the Jalen Ramsey trade as evidence of organizational weakness. Let's break down what actually happened here because it's pretty telling. The Dolphins gave Ramsey a contract extension after he was dealing with a groin injury. Remember this timeline. Ramsey has injury concerns, gets his extension, then suddenly he's good to go for week 2. That's the kind of situation that drives organizations crazy. But here's the thing. The Dolphins don't know how to handle these alpha dog type players. You could argue that players like Ramsey are toxic and you don't want them in your locker room. That's fair. But when you look at Super Bowl winning teams, they have guys who keep the locker room in check. They have vocal leaders who won't let players give up or create drama. The Dolphins seem incapable of holding on to these kinds of players. They can't manage the strong personalities that championship teams need. Whether it's Ramsey or other alpha types, Miami just can't make it work. Samuel Sr. is going off perception, obviously. He hasn't worked directly with Greer or been coached by McDaniel, but perception matters in the NFL. When you look at the Miami Dolphins organization from the outside, it doesn't look good. Think about where we are right now. We traded Jalen Ramsey to Pittsburgh. Now we're hoping and praying that Rasul Douglas signs with us. We're hoping Stephon Gilmore will come here. These are guys still available on the street, while every other team has their number one corner locked up. Who's our number one corner right now? Storm Duck? Ethan Bonner? Is Cater Johnson going to play outside? The secondary is completely messed up. We've heard nothing from Minkah Fitzpatrick since the trade. Maybe he's waiting until July 22nd to make some statement about being happy to be back. The organization keeps talking about culture. But from the outside looking in, it's kind of a mess. Samuel Sr. sees that mess and calls it exactly what it is, a little league operation. Samuel Sr. isn't the only one speaking out.